Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we've got Coriander, Killian, and special guest Angela from Morbid Heart Designs returning with us on our journey through the Final Destination series. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Fabulous.
Good. All right. And tonight we're talking about Final Destination 3. This was supposed to be a trilogy. That was the game plan in the beginning, but of course this movie did so well that they continued past 3, and eventually we'll get to those other movies too. Before we start with you guys, let me just see who we have in the chat, and then we'll get going on this thing. We got Patrick saying this is he says this is the best film in the series. All right, man, I gotcha. Neil's in the chat saying is this the one with the gymnastics scene? That one was nasty. That was 5. That was a bad one, man.
Oof. Yeah, I don't remember it, but I didn't want to say yes or no in chat yet. I was like, wait, forgotten something?
Right. Triv's in the chat saying, look at this sexy group. All right. Thanks, Triv. Flamethrower in the chat saying, I don't drive behind logging trucks because of 2, and I don't go to the tanning bed because of part 3.
Yep, pretty
They're not
much.
good for you anyway. Come on. They give you skin cancer just like the sun.
Hey, look, one thing we can say is that this series has really shown us how to be more careful in life, to make better decisions, right? Let's see. Neil says, I can't remember them all, right? Exactly. Dan's in the chat saying, hey guys, what's up, Dan? How you doing?
Hey.
And we got Ginger Ninja in the chat saying, hey all, some of the kills in this were brutal. Awesome. Yeah.
So my Saw comment last weekend, you said you'll be surprised. No, I was like, they totally went the Saw route. I totally jinxed myself, but that's what I didn't want to happen. Just to throw that out there for you were here last week.
Right? Yes, absolutely. And let's see. Triv was asking, is this the one with the giant piece of plate glass dropping? No, that was 2. That was in Final Destination 2. That was a rough one, man. That one's still
a roller coaster.
Am I wrong that I still laugh at that one? Because it's just the way the character runs.
It was kind of played for a little bit of comedy before it happened. So I definitely understand what you're saying about it. So before we get going, let's just do a quick take on this. We'll just kind of go around the panel here. I'll start with you, Angela, and then you, Kill, and then you, Coriander. What's your quick take on this movie?
Not my most favorite one. Now that I've watched 4 of them, definitely not my most favorite. I don't like roller coasters, but I found myself laughing at the ridiculous physics of it all. And I was like, maybe I'm not afraid of roller coasters anymore. So it might have cured my fear.
Good point. Okay. All right. How about you, Kill?
I love this one. For me, it's so close between this one and part 2. I love them both. And this one, I mean, the kills in this one, some of them are just extremely brutal and fun. And it was just a good ride because I am not a big fan of roller coasters. So that was some nightmare fuel.
No,
right
you're
there.
not. I'll have to get into a story about that. We'll see when we get to that point. All right. How about you, Coriander?
I mean, I enjoyed all these movies. I've liked the ways of, the different kills that all these characters go through. And yeah, I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Okay, we'll get ready to talk about this thing. We're going to finish getting set up for just a quick second. So for you guys in the chat, for you guys watching the replay, sit back, relax. You know what time it is. All right, let's get down to brass tacks. And Kill, let me just, I got to tell this story, man. And I know you don't like roller coasters, but you got to correct me if I'm wrong on this memory, though. But we went to Six Flags. Do you remember that? Okay.
Yes.
And
oh, yes.
It was me and Kill, and it was D, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So it's me, Kill, and my older cousin, right? And they have this huge roller coaster, the Superman roller coaster, and we got on it. And Kill's like, I'm not getting on this thing. We were talking at the time. We were referencing this movie, and we get to the top of the roller coaster.
And what happened, Knight? What happened?
It stopped, right? So the roller coaster stopped because they had to double check on, something or whatever. You see the guy walking up the stairs behind us. Now, my cousin is cracking up,
Oh
and
no.
I'm like, I gotta see where my brother's at. My brother is 1,000 feet down on the ground.
No.
Somehow, out of a huge crowd, he's able to stand out, and he's pointing up at us like, y'all stupid. What are y'all doing up there? It was so
Oh,
funny.
that's awesome.
I wasn't worried though. It was a
Yeah,
fun
but
roller coaster ride.
Wow.
But we
but
actually
it got stuck.
well, it did get stuck. We were stuck there for like, I don't know, 15 minutes, but we got to go again though. So
Damn.
So
we got to
long.
go
No,
twice.
that's so long. I would not go
Okay.
a second time. I would be like, never again. I'm
Okay.
out of the roller coaster
Now,
scene.
I just need to
Right.
clarify something. They were stuck for at least half an hour. It was not
Oh.
15 minutes. And the
Whoa.
area that I was at was the exit for you guys, which is the gift
Yeah.
shop. And I was eating ice cream, and I was able to look right up to you guys and be like, this is what happens. This
He
is
was
what
all-
happens.
He was all the way down to the ground. What are y'all doing? It was funny. But anyways, let's get this thing going. All right, so this movie starts off. Obviously, it's the third movie in the franchise. This was planned to be a trilogy, and this movie was directed by James Wong, who also directed the first Final Destination. And it has Mary Elizabeth Winstead in it, Ryan Merriman, and they were basically the leads. And I thought they were really good with each other. I'm just going to go around the panel. I'll start with you, Coriander, and then Kill, and then Angela. When this movie started off, what was the vibe you were getting? Especially being this is the third one in the series.
I mean, it looked like a good time. You had a bunch of seniors out at a theme park. You
Mhm.
had what the hell is her name? Wendy
Mary
there.
Elizabeth Wendy.
Yeah, Wendy
Mhm.
taking pictures for the yearbook, and it looked like a freaking good time, if you ask me.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed the opening of it. It really did feel like, how you feel at an amusement park, just having some fun. How about you, Kill? What were you thinking in the beginning of the movie?
Yeah, well, it looked like a really cool amusement park that I would like to go to. The
Mhm.
chemistry was there with these two couples. They're just
Mhm.
out trying to have fun and interacting with other, classmates and so forth. So, just like all of these movies, it starts off very innocent, very sweet,
Mhm.
very nice, very normal, and
Mhm.
then we start to go into, things knocking into other things and this and that, and then all of a sudden a cat goes through your heart or some weirdness. So yeah.
Kind of like an
Okay.
alien situation, but a cat.
Oh man.
Yeah. It's always the craziest Rube Goldberg machine
That's
of
bad
death
imagery.
like in this.
Bad imagery. And Angela, I'll point the first question to you. Now, obviously, the roller coaster scene was the mainstay of this one,
Mhm.
and do have a few images showing them shooting it, which I thought they had some cool shots in it. What did you think of
Yeah.
how the roller coaster scene was depicted?
It's funny you say what you did because as it's all playing out and stuff, I was like, damn, they worked really hard on this whole thing because it's so intricate and it's literally seconds of a shot. And it must have taken them several days just to film this few minutes of
Yes.
the movie because it was changing so quickly, so rapidly. There's so much going on.
Mhm.
It was rather impressive to think about the behind the scenes aspect and how they accomplished it.
Yeah, yeah. They said it took them,
Mhm.
I think they said the first 2 or 3 weeks. I think it was 2. It
2
was
weeks.
totally just the roller coaster scene that they had to work on.
I
And
believe it.
mhm,
Yeah.
And
yeah,
it paid off. It was comical in many ways, in my opinion, but
mhm.
I also respect what the work that went into every aspect of it.
Yeah, yeah. I
And I say
absolutely
comical
agree.
because it's like physics don't work that way. No, that's not how
Right?
that would happen.
Like,
And I just kept going, really? No,
yeah, I
no.
mean, I don't want to jump ahead, and I'll get to you in a second, Coriander, but just to follow your point, like when Lewis was hanging off the side of the roller coaster, it's like he could not hold on like that. When it was doing the corkscrew, it's like there's
Yep.
no way he could hold on to that. I don't care how
Yep.
strong
There
you
were
are.
many
Leverage,
moments I was like,
yeah,
okay, just let the reality go and just be in the moment in the
right.
movie. It's movie physics. Sometimes you just
Yes,
gotta let that go.
exactly. And
Especially in these movies.
well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Dan was saying Rube Goldberg Machine of Death. That's a movie title. Yeah.
Hey.
Triv says, I must see that that movie. You would say that, Triv. You would say that. That's too funny. But Coriander, I mean, we get a sense of how things are going. And, like these guys were saying, the couples and so forth, you see people, they're just having fun, doing different events at the amusement park. And then, of course, it comes to the part where they go to the roller coaster. Now, are you a roller coaster person, or have you ever been one?
Yeah, our my senior class went to, I think, a place in New Hampshire where Canopy Lake
Hmm.
Park, and they
Okay.
had, like roller coasters, and yeah, so I have,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. And also, and I know you appreciated it. Also, a small shout out to Tony Todd, because
Yeah.
although he wasn't
Yeah,
physically in the movie, he was the
his
voice
voice,
of the
right?
devil. So when you
Yeah.
talk about Devil's Flight, and he was also the voice of the conductor on the subway too at the end.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
as soon as you saw this roller coaster, you just get bad vibes, man. You really,
Mhm.
really do. I personally do like roller coasters, but even myself, I was just thinking, man, this is not going to end too well. Kill, as this starts off, they go up that big climb and then they just start booking downhill. What were you thinking? How did those scenes hit you when stuff started to hit the fan?
Well, first things first. I just gotta say, these ride conductors, these teens, are the
Yeah,
worst ever. and
right?
and I'm sorry, you not only
Mhm.
have Mary Elizabeth, who has a loose camera, and they're like, okay, put the camera away, but then you got
Your boy
Molester
Frankie
McFly in the
Cheeks.
back. Yeah,
Right?
whatever.
Frankie Cheeks.
Frankie, you wouldn't get away with that behavior nowadays, sir. You're not a nice young man. He has a camcorder that he just, oh,
Right?
I'm just gonna tuck it, and it's
Mhm.
like,
Hmm.
what? Like,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
But yeah, being that this is the third movie of this franchise,
Hmm.
this is gonna end horrible. This
Right?
is just, when I was first watching this, back when it first came out, I was just salivating. Is like, ooh, how are they gonna die? What's gonna happen? And
Right.
in my wildest imagination of some of the deaths, I couldn't call it.
Right?
I was, even to this day, like some of them, people being beheaded or
Hmm.
disemboweled or just falling to your death. I mean, that, like,
Hmm.
thank you, right here. This sequence right here, where you're holding on for dear life, and you
Yeah.
realize, I can't hold on anymore. I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Like
I
Yeah.
would
that.
die
That is.
so fast, it's not even funny. Like I kept watching, I'm like, you're holding on way longer than I could have. Like
Right?
I don't think
you
I would
you
even
you
catch if it fell. I'd be like, oh, butter,
Is that the sound
Yeah.
you would make too?
with
Sweet
the
release.
jazz hands and everything. Go out with a flare.
Right? Nice. Yeah, but
Uh,
it's crazy stuff, man. Dan saying I almost vomited on the teacups ride when I took my pre-K class on a field trip. Those teacup rides are badass though, man.
Oh,
You
that's funny shit.
you got to have a strong constitution for those
You
rides
do.
though. So I hear you,
Once they
Dan.
get
I don't
spinning
think
just the right speed, no.
yeah, and I don't think I could do a roller coaster now. Like when I was in my teens and early 20s, even probably 30s, I'd be okay. But it's weird now that I'm like older, I can't handle like motion like I could. So I probably couldn't
Mhm.
do it.
Okay, I hear you. Neil saying, I love roller coasters, but at the same time, they terrify me. I spend those couple of minutes climbing the hill at the start wondering why the hell
God.
I got on this
Yeah,
thing.
that's
Right?
the
mhm.
part
You know what?
though.
The secret to avoid the having to have that thought is just don't get on it.
True enough.
But the
Just don't get
adrenaline
on
you
it.
get is awesome. They're
Mhm.
exciting. I enjoyed
Yeah,
it. So
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
absolutely. But yeah, Angela, as stuff is starting to happen, I know you talked about the laws of physics were definitely rebuked. But were there any of those deaths that you either thought was noteworthy or just made your jaw drop on the roller coaster?
I kept wishing for at least a decapitation. I mean, we're here for the death and like the chaos, right? That's why you watch these movies.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept going, damn, it's not happened yet. It's not happened. And then towards the end of the sequence, you get the body ripped in half, and I was like, it finally happened.
Right? Yeah,
Mhm.
man.
Like, if you're gonna make me have this anxiety at the beginning, at least give me the payout. And it paid out. I was happy. I guess I'm a weird person for liking horror in general. Nobody here is surprised, and we probably all have the same thoughts.
Exactly. You know, that's what this is all about. I mean, look at how high that thing is, man.
No.
That's ridiculous.
I'm
Can you
uncomfortable just
imagine?
with the still. No.
Right? But yeah, that last death, well, second to last with Kevin, that was rough, man, because he just got torn in two. It just
Mhm.
looked
Yeah.
really bad, man. It really, really did. But of course, just like all these other movies, you know, Wendy's character realizes that she was seeing this in a vision. She freaks out and she's like, I got to get off of this ride. And, you know, unfortunately, her boyfriend was not one of the ones that got off, but it was just not funny. I was about to say it's funny, but I don't mean funny as funny, but just, you know, as soon as she got off and they were escorting her down the stairs and outside, and, you know, like, well, we'll call your mother and all that type of stuff. And all of a sudden, boom, like within 2 seconds of them taking her outside, it happens. And it's like,
Mhm.
wow. Coriander, obviously, one difference I thought about this one versus the other movies is that you don't have that romantic type of tie-in with the leads like one and two. What did you think about that as far as how Wendy and Kevin were portrayed? Because I thought they worked really good together, but they were
I did
obviously.
too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, what if of course, if something like this is going to bring these two together, they were friends, their boyfriend and girlfriends were friends, you know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
they tragically lost the people that they cared for.
Yeah,
So how could you not, even if they weren't close and didn't really care for each other, this would definitely, I saw that, yeah. How could it not bring you closer together? And I
absolutely.
liked the chemistry between them, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was actually really, really good. And maybe the best chemistry of two leads so far between one, two,
Mhm.
and three.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just thought about that just now in my head. But you know, at this point, you know, things start to kind of fall in line too, because Wendy talks about how she felt like it was a force that is with her. You know, she was thinking about her boyfriend, you know, wondering if she could connect with his spirit, but instead she just feels this heavy force around her, and basically, you know, a personification of death. Kill. What did you think of that concept? Do you think it was done as well as part one and two? And obviously, at that point in the story, how did you take it?
Yeah, I thought it was done well. I mean, of course, I love Tony Todd, and if he was in it some way, if they figured some way to shoehorn him in, I would have been all down for it. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel by this time you don't really need him. We just know that, like if you mess up the Death's plan,
Mm-hmm.
eventually you're gonna get it. Like literally everyone in this series, and please let me know if I'm wrong. Eventually they die.
Mhm.
Eventually, and I'm sure we'll talk about that towards the end of this because I really like the way this one ended.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm of two minds, and I'll be very brief with this.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was saying earlier with like the Rube Goldberg machine of like, all right, you're in a room and you're trying to death proof it, but
Mm-hmm.
like just the craziest things like the wind blows a marble, the marble hits a toy, the toy hits this other thing, and then all of a sudden you end up dying by your microwave blowing something in your face, shards of glass, and it's like, how did you go from but it's a
Right.
movie and it's a part of the ride, and we go with it. But
Right.
in a way I feel this one, and I could be like off with this, I felt it was a little less of that,
I
where
agree.
okay,
Yeah.
I
thank you.
completely agree.
Okay, and I'm not going to say if that's a good or bad thing, but the
I think
second
it's a good
movie,
thing.
okay, thank you. Yeah, I agree as well. But the The second movie just had so many of those, like, like, am I playing Mousetrap? What is going on here? But
I agree.
this one was a little bit more straightforward. Hey, if you're working out like a dumbass near
oh my god,
like double
you're talking
swords,
about the dumbest of dumbasses.
Can I just say something?
That was painful to watch.
That
right?
was testosterone locker room, like to a million. And I'm sorry, if I'm in the gym, I'm not going to work out close to 2 giant swords.
Right.
But once again, I appreciated that it wasn't a million other little things that added to that finally happening. It was pretty straightforward. Like,
yeah.
But,
I do think the deaths were a lot more straightforward, and they were pretty brutal, like what we were saying. And like you said, everyone has died up to this point. The only 2 people that their fate was kind of unknown was in part 2 at the end with Kimberly and the sheriff, but supposedly in a deleted scene, or it might have been an extra or something like that. It's not known as canon in the franchise, but they met their end at with an accident with a wood chipper. But it's not really canon in the series. It was like a deleted scene or something like that, silly. So, but you're right. Eventually, this gets just about everyone, and it's really it's badass. But let's get to the first death after all of that, which is, of course, the tanning booth death, Angela. Now, obviously, you get into the different stereotypes. So we obviously have the stereotypes of these 2, and they want to look good for the event and all that type of stuff. And so they're going to the tanning salon. Give me your take on this whole thing, how that went for you.
As somebody who has been in a tanning bed for many years until she got tattoos and went, no, my tattoos are too precious for the tanning bed to destroy, I was watching this going, okay, like, I wouldn't be that way alone. Like, no way. There's no way. I've never seen this one, and I was like, what if something happens? Not like I would burn up and like they did, but getting stuck and I don't know. It was slightly painful to watch.
Yes. Very painful to watch.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and I also couldn't help but laughing at the absurdity of all of it, which was really good way to release some of the tension, because it wasn't like unrealistic absurdity. I could legit see some of the girls I went to high school with being this way.
Absolutely. And the effects on it as well, Coriander, I'll throw it to you too. Like, when they showed them burning up and stuff, I mean, it looked pretty damn, good for the effects. What did you think of the death?
Yeah.
It was very brutal.
For them. That's all I have to say. I would never be in this situation because I've never tanned in my life. So, yeah, I mean, it sucked for them.
It was horrific, man. I mean, seriously, burning alive, that would be a bad way to go. What about you, Kill?
Yeah.
This is going to sound very morbid, but I laughed at this scene. Only, I mean, it's a horrific scene, but it's so many things. One, you have the song Rollercoaster going on in the background. And, they're twitching their feet, they're dancing, in their boxes. And then once again, you have so many ticky-tack things happening, the lotion bottle blocking the door and squeezing out, this, that,
and
it's
right mind uses that as a doorstop. I want to start absurdity right there. Like, who in their right mind would even do that?
I know. I agreed. As soon as he did that, I was like, what the hell? What are you doing, dude?
These bitches gonna die.
Right?
At least one of them's gonna die in this moment.
Oh, yeah.
Neil talking about the tallest coaster is 456 feet. Ooh.
Nope.
Wow.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
That's crazy.
I couldn't do it now. Right.
No,
that's crazy. But yeah, that death was something. I mean, it really was bad. I mean, it really got me. But after that, I think that's kind of when you really kind of got on track with the 2 leads, with Kevin and Wendy. Kevin had brought to Wendy's attention the whole story, or some of the history of Flight 180, and how, obviously, as we know, Alex, stopped several of the people from being on it when it blew up and so forth. Coriander, like for you, and this movie was meant to be kind of a standalone. They actually said that was the idea with this movie. It's a sequel, but they wanted it to kind of be in its own little bottle, so to speak, whereas part 2 really was linked to part 1 as far as how death,
Yeah.
affected all of the characters from 1 and 2, like in a big circle. But Coriander, for you, do you think that that story, Kevin letting Wendy know about it, and at first she didn't want to hear none of that, what
She
were you
did.
thinking at that point in the story?
I mean, so one of them had to look back and discover
Hmm.
it because it's always discovered. You know what I mean? Someone
Right.
always finds out about something like this. So,
Hmm.
yeah. I mean, I thought that it worked out just fine. He
Yeah.
at first, like you said, she didn't believe what he was
Hmm.
saying and she didn't want to hear any of it. But
Right.
didn't she like look into it or something? And
Yeah. Yeah. She
yeah,
After
started
the
to. She's.
photos, when she started to see the correlations, she started to
Yep.
look into it.
Yeah, because she
yeah.
realized that when she saw she was going to call the girls, before they went to the tanning booth inside the beds, and she had looked at the photos and she had seen how the picture was all um, distorted and so forth. By the way, too, the other thing that was really cool, and I think we talked about this in part 1, and we've kind of skimmed around it, but the whole idea of the deaths, being shown in the photographs, they took that inspiration directly from the Omen. And I've always said that I felt like, the series, paid a lot of homage to the Omen,
Mhm.
how these deaths would just kind of work themselves into being, so to speak. So, but they specifically took the idea of the deaths directly from the Omen. As a matter of fact, if you think about it, that one shot that they have where the roller coaster is coming at Wendy's boyfriend, I think I had that image up earlier. This one right here, there's a correlation, with that, and also the picture in the Omen with the priest, who obviously, he gets impaled, so it's pretty cool that way. But Kill,
Mhm.
after that, we go to the next death, and that was the one at the drive-thru. And by the way, this one, I was just like, holy crap, because there was a
Mhm.
couple things that almost happened, like the guy backing into the side of them and stuff like that. But what was your take on this death? Was it effective? Or did you like it? And what?
This one wasn't bad.
Mhm.
Once again, like them being stuck there and kind of realizing the rules of the game now. Like, okay,
Right.
if a weird song comes across the radio, or if just something just seems a little off, you might want to get the hell out of Dodge. And I
Right.
love that they're just like, look, screw this, let's go, let's get out of
Mhm.
here, not
Right.
today, Satan. So it's like I really enjoyed it. And one thing else, I just want to piggyback on something you were saying as far as the photos. I love the foreshadowing photographs. I love
Hmm.
that they added that, and it
Mhm.
really became a focal part, to the point where both of our protagonists are kind of like, do we even want to look at our photos?
Hmm.
And that's something that I don't know what I would want to do. Would you want to see the photo of how you're gonna die? And I love that the guy, he was just like, I just want to make sure nothing goes up my butt or something. I don't want to die in a really bad, embarrassing way. So I just
Right.
thought that was a really interesting kind of, that's the kind of Tony Todd that replaces Tony Todd a little bit,
Mhm.
Yeah.
because now you have these photos that are foreshadowing
Hmm.
exactly how you're going to die. And I'm part of watching it for me was looking at those photos and wondering,
Yes.
all right,
Mhm.
so that sign says kill and it's kind of like these triangles, but okay, is that going to be and that
Yeah.
added another layer for me.
I agree.
I
So
liked that after the death, they still showed some of the photos, and you started to piece things more together about how the photos actually play into the foreshadowing of it. I thought that was really
Hmm.
brilliant to show them even after it added to the
hmm
story.
Yeah. Yeah. It
yeah,
definitely
yeah.
gave
I
a little
liked
bit
it
of a
better
freshness
than,
to it.
yeah, and like you were saying about part 2, all the premonitions, that kind of
Hmm.
took its place with the photos. So
Yeah.
hmm
Mhm.
yeah, that
Yep.
made it a
Yep.
lot better.
Absolutely. And of course, this whole thing with the drive-through, when you saw that truck coming down the hill and the guy's like 80,000 feet behind it going, "Ooh, ooh," it's like, dude, You're not gonna stop it. I mean,
I was wondering if they were breaking all the rules. I was like, okay, the third one sometimes breaks all the rules. Are you actually legit breaking these rules? Like, you can't. It's still too early in the movie.
Right.
But I questioned it several times. I'm like, whoa, you're gonna break the rules.
Right.
You can't do
Right.
this.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's coming down the hill, and I'm just like, wow, what's gonna happen? But but I gotta admit, each death, obviously this one we're talking about right now, it was, it happened in a way that I didn't necessarily expect. So that was kind of cool. It definitely wasn't, plain Jane type of stuff. And Coriander, I remember we were talking about what did you think of how poor Frankie? I mean, the motor to the back of the head. What did you think of that death?
That was, interesting shit. Who would have thought that the guy in front would have the motor of a car, the fan, freaking
Right?
kill you.
I
Yeah. It
know.
was
I was just
crazy.
like,
I
and then
loved it. It was great.
yeah, and then it spun again and like ripped off the last part of it, the back of his skull. I was like, oh man, that was
It was
rough.
kind of a good jump scare. They don't do jump scares very often, but I think that was a good jump scare because you
That
weren't
was.
expecting it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I agree. You're right. You're right. And it was really, really effective. It really,
Mhm.
really was. But like you guys were saying, them trying to figure out these things with the photographs, I think that was a really nice little added feature to the movie, and it kind of made you part of what was going on. And I thought it was really, really cool. But Kill, now I'll go to you. I mean, let's just talk about dumbass Lewis, because they go to him, they tell him about, the two deaths that have happened. He obviously knows what happened on the roller coaster. And it's like, and I will say this, the one thing about this movie, and I'll throw it to you in a sec, Kill, but with this movie, like Kevin and Wendy, they were truly on their own, man. Like nobody wanted to believe them, not
Right.
at all. Whereas in the first two movies, you at least had, one or more people, if nothing else, kind of just be like, okay, let me just hang with you for a while because you know something I don't know. But in this one, like everybody was like so standoffish to Wendy and Kevin, which I thought was, I mean, it's good for the movie. I'm thinking you guys are stupid asses, as the viewer. That's what I'm thinking. But let's talk about Lewis and the locker room thing. That was just the weight room thing, I should say. That was just ridiculous.
Well, look. I guess the one thing I'll say is this: you can be a skeptic all you want, but
Yeah.
if you lived through this because someone said, "Hey, this is going to kill you," and you get off and you live, you kind of owe them. You kind of owe them one. And if they
Right.
come back and they say, "Hey, bro, you're gonna die if you don't kind of get with us and let's workshop this, Scooby Doo gang this, okay?"
Right.
It's like, come on. And I got to take it one step further because in the second movie, who's it? T.C. Carson, his character
Yeah.
was kind of the same way. So
Yeah, he was.
men of color, let's listen to people, okay? Let's please let's give
Although
you better than this.
they rectify that in 4.
Yes, they do. So
And
progression.
And you know what? And I bet you that might be why they did it. They might have said, we got to stop making these dudes look so damn stupid.
Yeah,
I mean, for real. I'm being real.
but
You know?
but
Oh, man.
the death itself, I mean, we were just talking about like jump scare kind of deaths.
Yeah.
I love that it played with our expectation,
Mhm.
Yes, it
because
did.
we
It
just
was
assumed.
extremely anxiety inducing with everything that was going on with the photos and what was in the room. Like I was
Yes.
like, I might actually like freak out a little bit, have to take a few minutes because I can't take this.
I mean, like this
Especially with
one.
the adrenaline. Ah.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was overload in there. But this one, like, as soon as this death happened, the first thing that came to my mind was fatality. It's just,
Yes.
it was
It's
just
true.
awesome.
It was a badass death, man, because like when you're in the
Yeah.
weight room, and I mean, you know how this is, Kill. I mean, in the weight room, there's a lot of equipment that could just mess your day up
Mhm.
a
Oh yeah.
thousandfold, right? But the way they depicted this weight room, which is not how a good weight room should be anyways, but all the machines are close, all the guys are like right beside each other doing curls and stuff, and that machine that Lewis was on, I don't know why they would have it behind swords. Like that was just kind of stupid, you know what I mean? Coriander, you were saying the same thing too. You're like, why is it by the swords? I mean, it was just
Yeah.
ridiculous. But anyways,
One good
but
thing,
yeah.
it was quick. He didn't feel a fucking thing. So good for him.
That is true.
No, that
Keep
is
hop
true.
like a zit. I've been waiting to say that.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yes,
man.
yes.
But you're right, though. You're right. Yeah, that it was a rough one, man. But once that happened, they're basically like, look, we're running out of time. We got to figure this thing out. And then, of course, after he dies, Ian McKinley, he's next on the list with his girlfriend Erin. So they go to see them, and then this scene I really really enjoyed when they go to where they work at the warehouse, and I thought that was a really good set design. But real quick, just to get back to the chat, Neil was saying it would have been even cooler if there was a Motorhead song playing on his radio.
Oh.
Good one, good one. Angela saying the irony. Missed opportunity. Yeah, there was the missed opportunity, wasn't there? But yeah, when they go to the hardware store, Angela, when they're first telling these guys, and they don't believe it either, right? Even more so, they're being like asses to Kevin and Wendy. What did you?
Or to the pigeons. I wanted that guy to die as soon as he started shooting at the pigeons. I was like,
Right?
"You're so not cool. I am over your character. You can die, and I'm okay with it. I have no sympathy for you."
He was such a jackass, man. But yeah, the scene is starting off. He's shooting pigeons, and Aaron is just basically go, okay, well, tell me the story. They're telling her the story, and they're just not buying it. I mean, Coriander, obviously, we saw that with Lewis. We've seen that in some of the other movies where people don't buy it or they're jerks or whatever. How did you think that this scene went? And then, of course, the death with the nail gun.
I mean, I thought this was a great scene. These two they weren't believing anything.
Right.
And yeah, just as soon as the whole shit started going down with that hammer like falling off the wall and knocking that other truck machine, whatever the hell it is, the forklift or whatever. Yeah, and moving it forward. And once all that started into motion, yeah, you knew shit was going to go down. It was going to go down good. And yeah, this was a brutal scene. I mean, this poor girl falls back into a nail gun and gets how many to the back of her head? Like 10.
So many.
It was crazy.
Way
this was
many.
the moment where I was like, they were implying this is the Saw moment of the movie. I thought of all of you guys in chat that moment.
He really nailed that one. Good one. Good one. Good one. Yes, no, I mean, it definitely, and it was a rough one too, because not only did they show each one going into her, but then after that, she kind of let out a little gasp at the end. I will say, the effect was very, very believable, the way it looked.
Yeah.
I mean, and this might have been the one death that was kind of, one thing happens and another thing happens. I think this is one of the few deaths that had, a lot of those types of dominoes types of moments. But as soon as it happened, and as soon as you saw that look on Ian's face, I was just like, yeah, this isn't going to be good because he's already a jackass. I know what's going to happen. He's going to be involved with something coming up,
He's already got the triad of a serial killer going on as far as we can see. Like,
right? Yeah, absolutely. And of course,
but maybe it was dinner. Some people would eat pigeon. Come on, you never know.
Jeez. All right, but he goes to follow Wendy. She's figuring that we got to figure this out. It's her and Kevin, and they go to this celebration that they have for the town, the Tsentennial and all that. Kevin's doing security work, and Wendy's coming there, and unbeknownst to them, her sister is there too. So, Kill, take me through at least the beginning of this, because the fireworks are going off. Kevin is thinking that's what's going to get him because of the overexposed picture that Wendy had looked at.
You're forgetting one of the most important parts, though. They
Was
don't
that
know who was in the carts between not Wendy's death, the chick's death with the nails
right?
and theirs. There's a whole gap of who is this.
Yeah. She figures, yeah, and when she looks on the camera, it was because of
Mhm.
that bracelet that she figured out that it was her sister, which, and of course, her sister had her arm up like that. Just the bracelet would be in the view of it, but it is what it is. It's movie logic. You gotta love it. But yeah, no, that was kind of messed up, and it was funny because before that, the two of them kind of reconciled a little bit, as far as just being cool with each other again and all that, because their sister was kind of, how it is, the younger sibling and all that. You know how that's right, how that is, right, Kill?
Sure.
So, all right, so
I have
Kill.
an
I
older
mean,
brother, so.
oh, okay, oh, okay. But what did you think of how the scene was setting up at the Tricentennial?
well,
Because at
well,
this
well,
point, for me, I had no idea what was going to happen.
right, and I liked that. But for one,
Okay,
if he's doing security, I'm sorry, this is a time when you call your boss and say, "Look, I might die pretty soon, so I don't think I can secure the flammable fireworks at this
right,
bicentennial event." But I like how like he sees the photo, and he's like, oh my god. He looks right at the fireworks, and he's like, so he already is kind of on guard, and he's like, hey, you kids, get away from that stuff, this and
right.
that. But as you're going through the scene, then they realize the sister is there with her friends, and
Hmm.
he's trying his best to like, hey, come here, I got to talk to you about this, and the sister's not having it.
Right.
And you just have it's so many things that can kill you at this. You could be
Yeah.
trampled by a horse,
Yes.
fireworks blowing up, flammable gases, just
Cannons.
people can't. Yes. Oh, thank you. Cannons,
Yeah.
or you could be dragged behind a horse, like
Yeah.
the sister was.
Which, by the way, let's be
Go,
real,
yeah, go for
man.
it.
She would have been killed when the horse stopped and then started
Snap.
back up, and she was
Mhm.
pulled in the other direction. I mean, we're talking, that's some Gwen Stacy stuff going on. She would have been killed. But anyways,
That's a
um,
lot of horsepower.
Her-
Nah.
We are with the puns tonight between you and Chat.
But you just
yeah. Okay. So yeah, so the horse is pulling her, and again, you're just wondering what's going to happen because they also don't know the order for her sister and her friend, right? But Angela, when it happens, it took me by surprise. Did it take you by surprise? Because everything
Yes.
had stopped at that point because Kevin had saved her.
Hmm. So when she's getting drugged by the horse, at one point I was like, she'd already be dead, but movie
Right.
physics, we can just go with it. That whole thing was rather freaking intense. Like I was holding my breath at moments. I was like, oh shit, she's gonna get impaled. Wait, what just happened? She's not impaled. She got saved by a sword that could have also killed her. She is one
Right.
lucky bitch. And then when her friend comes over and they're like, who's next? If it's not you, and did we save you or who anyways, because I don't think they've quite figured out the skipping part yet, like
Yeah.
cognitively vocalized it, and then the stick comes out of nowhere, and I was like, oh,
Right. And
I
she
was like,
slides. She also slides
whole
down a little bit.
yes, the whole
yeah.
sequence between the horse and this was like completely, I didn't know what to expect, and I loved it.
Yeah. No,
It all happened
was
so
good.
fast.
It
Also,
was
I
pretty
hope
good.
she got paid a lot for how little bit she was actually in the movie.
Right? That's a good point too. Holy shit. But yeah, I mean, it's like, things are just happening one thing after another. And Coriander, of course, like I said earlier, I knew Ian was going to be some part of this finale. And of course, he shows up right after that, and he was talking about how, well, I've seen what's happening and I know who's next and all that type of stuff. When he came back, what did you think he was going to do? How did you think it was going to play out, like when you first saw this?
I don't know because, like you said, he was following her and being all creepy, and you could even see the way that he would look at her. That after because he thinks that she like has something to do with his girlfriend's death.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, I thought it was interesting how it all played out and how we figured out. Oh, you think so? I'm gonna be like the cause of your death, and Then the next thing you know, you see that like machine that's holding a sign come down and crush him and rip him in half, and yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Little
No,
twitch.
it was rough. Yeah, and the twitch, and he gave the finger too. Kill. What did you
Mhm.
think of the death?
Well, you know, one thing about Ian, I don't like him shooting the pigeons, but his girlfriend just died. So he's mourning in his way, which, you know, it could be a little creepy and a little murderous.
Right.
But essentially, this movie, death don't like couples. So it's
Right.
just like, I'm gonna kill your girlfriend, your boyfriend, and your girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
But what I liked about this scene is he kind of had that same feeling of I'm invincible, I can't die,
Right.
and Mary Elizabeth is kind of like, hey, stay away from me, and he's like, oh, the way you should have stayed away from my girlfriend so she wouldn't have died, you know, and it was just interesting to see his take on mourning, because
Yes.
his take on mourning was a lot more aggressive and had, you know, evil intent, whereas everyone else is like, oh, I just want to sit here and cry and
Right.
you know, this and that. So I liked the difference in, you know, because people mourn in different ways. So yeah, you know.
I
Yeah. I
think it was
mean,
really good timing too, because it was getting closer to her death. So it was like, is he actually going to get his wish? Because he got skipped, and we're watching people get skipped or die, and it's getting close to her role or her part of the sequence. I was like, is he actually going to get to kill her?
Right. Right. Yeah. I was wondering too, and like you said, he was so boisterous. He was like, "Just tell me how to start it off. Let's do this." And I was just like, "Wow." But you know, obviously he gets crushed. And again, the effect was really really good. It was gruesome,
It
very
was
gruesome.
juicy. Yeah.
That's one way to word it. It really, and it was a really good
It
effect too. And
was.
matter of fact, James Wong, who directed it, said that he wanted it to be a really gruesome death, you know, to kind of, you know, be one of the last ones. And so they really worked a lot on, once he was cut in two or whatever, showing the other half of him, and you know, all that type of stuff, all the blood and guts and stuff. So they really honed in on that death. But you know, that happens, and they think it's over because of course she saved Kevin, so it skipped her. So they think, hey, we're all good, it's all done. It's 5 months later. It's I believe it's Thanksgiving time, and they're coming home and all that type of stuff. She's on the subway with her friends, and sure enough, she sees her sister on the subway. At this and again, these two movies have been interesting because at the end of one, we know that Alex and Clear survived. Alex died in between one and two, but obviously Clear was in two. And at the end of two, canon wise, Kimberly and the officer survived. So at this point, Angela, did you think that Mary Elizabeth Winstead was going to survive this movie?
I wasn't sure what to expect at this point, because it's like the one with Kimberly, there was a little bit of a jump between like the big sequence and then the very conclusion of the movie. So I was like, okay, well, maybe it'll be a happy ending. I really wasn't sure which way they were going to go with it.
Right. Yep. Yep. Absolutely. What about you, Coriander? What did you think? Did you think that Wendy was going to survive this? That it was over, or what were your thoughts?
Well, you know, like we kind of said in the beginning, there usually aren't too many survivors from these movies, so I wasn't too surprised. No.
Okay. But that being said, from one to two, there were two survivors, and from two to three, there were two survivors. So I get. Well, I'll say what I
But
thought.
they got killed. Clear was killed.
Right, but she made it to part
She
two,
made it
is
to
what
the
I'm
second.
saying.
She
At
did.
the end of one, at the end of one, Alex and her survived, and at the end of
The
two,
point being,
Kimberly in the
you
office.
still get killed.
I know that. I'm just saying at the end of this one. What did you think at the end of this one?
Final Destination 4, because we know there's 5.
Right, exactly. But I really did think that she would survive or something like that. But of course, she sees her sister. Kevin's on the subway too, and then it's funny because when she tried to get off of the subway and was pushed back on before she first saw her sister, you looked on the side of the subway, and it had 081, and I was like, holy
I didn't see
shit, that's
that.
180 backwards. And I'm like, oh no. So it was
I
just
didn't
like cool.
see that.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
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 I saw
So
all the other signs about what had happened throughout the show, and I was like,
yeah.
damn, I would totally be freaking out too. I'd want off that. I
Right?
didn't see the number. I'm gonna have to rewatch the last bit.
Yeah. I mean, Dan talking about the executions back in the day. Yeah. But yeah, I saw the 081, and then when she looked outside and saw it in the mirror, it showed it as 180. And I was like, and the look, I will say this, and then I'll get to you, Kill. I think Mary Elizabeth Winstead is a really good actress, and she's
Mhm.
done a lot of great movies, especially in horror and thriller. And she really portrayed a lot of emotion, which is one of the reasons that she was cast for this movie. She
Mhm.
actually auditioned for Final Destination 2, but I can't remember why she didn't get it. But anyways, but when she sees what happens, of course, we don't know that it's the vision, but stuff starts happening. Kill. I mean, tell me what were you thinking, man?
I love this ending because
Okay.
Mhm.
it was definitive, and you got one more cool kill sequence. I mean, it was
You
like,
did.
more bang for your buck. She, and the sad part is, just like being stuck on a airplane, if the plane is already taken off and in the air, you can't get out.
Right.
Subway train is in motion. You oh, sis, you're on this train, and then, like, oh god, dude, you're on this train too. Oh, we're dead. We're dead.
Right.
We're all gonna dead. We're all in the same spot. Yeah, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was, once again, it just illustrated that you can't cheat death. You can only postpone it, and they were
Mhm.
able to postpone it an extra 5 months, and now it's time to pay the check.
Good point.
Mhm.
5 months. 5 months. What about you, Angela? What did you think of the subway scene?
It was intense. I wouldn't have changed anything about it, and I like that it just ended, and you're like, I know what's gonna happen. They're not gonna
Right.
make it. Like
Yeah.
the finality of it just made you go, shit. They
Yeah.
really had it out for these characters. They really meant they wanted it to be a one-off. Like
Yeah. I
I
agree.
liked the dedication to it.
Yeah, I agree. It was a great ending because you realize after all that stuff happens,
Mhm.
it was her vision again, and she's looking around, and then that's when Kevin says, what's wrong, and he kind of gets that look on his face. By the way, like I said, both of these leads were really good.
Mhm.
I really think these two
Mhm.
leads were great, and he has that look on his face, and she has that look on her face, and then all of a sudden, boom, then it starts to really happen, and you see her in the window looking out with the lights kind of flashing and flashing, and then it just cuts, and it's like that was a really cool, and you hear crunching and crashing and all that. I thought that was a good way to end it. I think that might have been the best ending of
Uh-huh.
these three. But
Yes.
yeah, and that's what I thought too. Coriander, as we close, that's the question I wanted to kind of get to. Did you think this ending was one of the best or not, or how would you rate it against the first two? And also the movie, we'll eventually do a ranking, but do you think that this movie, had some fresh stuff to it, or was it kind of worn territory? Because that's what some critics said, that it was too formulaic to what had happened in one and two.
I enjoyed this one better than two, just because I thought the whole premonition thing was a lot, like what Killian was saying earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I enjoyed this ending. I mean, the fact that you got, Wendy here to have another vision of, holy shit, we're gonna die. And yeah, the fact that you can't change it this time is,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
yeah, that is definitely a final way to end it. And yeah, it was great.
I agree. How about you, Kill? How do you think this movie stands up to the first two?
Like I said, this one is probably my favorite out of all of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I like I love the endings of the first two, but I like the
Mhm.
definitive ending of this, where they don't show the final death, but we
Mhm.
know, like you said, when it cuts to
Right.
black and you hear the crunching, that unfortunately, and I never want to see Mary Elizabeth die. I love Mary Elizabeth, but
Oh,
it
stop.
had to happen, unfortunately, and it was a
Mm.
great way to end the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. No, I agree. It was a good way to end it. Same question to you, Angela, as far as just what do you think of this? I know you had said that this one wasn't your favorite, but as far as compared to 1 and 2, any things that stood out for you that were better or
I think
worse?
that I think that this one's done a really good job that if you didn't watch 1 or 2, you could pick this one up and totally get the franchise. Like,
Good point.
I think that's definitely a very big compliment to James Wan and the other writers for this. I don't remember how many writers there were, that they were able to accomplish that, because usually there's such a, you need to know this history for it to build up with these types of horror franchises, but
Yeah.
you don't need it to enjoy this one. It's a fun watch. I like it has some great deaths. It's a total fun watch, but yes, it is not my favorite. I'm gonna be one is my favorite. Don't
Okay.
hate me. I'm like the
Yep.
only person here who put that on one, I feel like.
No, no, that's okay. That's the great thing about movies is they hit everyone differently. So, and for me, all three of these movies I've enjoyed, and I've actually at different times enjoyed each of them a little bit more than the others. I mean, I think this one had a lighter vibe to it, and they intentionally wanted it to. They wanted it to be kind of more fun, so to speak. Obviously the amusement park scene before the deaths, there was some fun in there, some comedy, some of the characters poking fun at each other and being just kind of, over the top. So that was done intentionally. So this one was definitely for me too, just more of a fun one. And whereas two, was kind of a team effort type of movie, and one obviously was the first one. So it's interesting stuff. But we'll be getting to the fourth one soon, and that'll be another can of worms to open. Triv saying, I really enjoy one. Yeah, I agree. The first one was great. It
Yeah,
really,
it
really
started it
was.
all.
It
Yeah.
started it all. And it had some really, really tough deaths to watch. Like you always say, Coriander, that bathroom death, that one
Yeah.
still, when we rewatched it, and I've seen that movie
Yeah.
many times, it still made me cringe seeing it because, the way
Right.
they shot that death scene,
And
he was being
flying.
strangled.
Yeah, I mean everyone's at least I'm terrified of flying, so yeah.
Mm,
The
yeah, good
first one
point.
the first one's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Neil saying, I really enjoy these first three films. The fourth is pretty bad for the most part, and five was okay, I think. Yeah, I hear you, man. And we'll be getting to those pretty soon. It's definitely a mixed bag for me as well. Not to spoil it ahead of time, but yeah, we'll see what we get to when we do the fourth Final Destination. So, but anyways, guys, that's pretty much about it that we've got for Final Destination 3. Um, and for you guys in the chat or watching the replay, please give the video a like. That would help support the channel. We'd appreciate it. I also will have the link to Angela's channel in the description, so please check her out. She has great content, a great content creator herself, and we really do thank her for joining us again. And we're hoping to have her on for one more at least, and that should be really fun too.
Be here for the 5th.
All right. That sounds like a plan. And also, guys, please leave us a comment in the comment section. Let us know what you think of Final Destination 3. Do you have any favorite deaths? Do you have any moments in the movie that stood out? What did you think of the characters? Let us know. We'll have a discussion down there as we head on out. Neil saying, great stream, guys. Thanks so much, man. We appreciate that. And by the way, also as a shout out, everyone in the chat, check out all their channels. Check out Triv's channel, but also check out Neil's channel too. He just did a really awesome review on Night of the Living Dead a few days ago, and it was really it was a touching review. It really was nice and very very well done, as he does with all of his reviews. But I do have that video on the channel in a playlist that I'm putting together with some other YouTubers that I would recommend. So definitely check that out too. So with that being said, we will catch you guys later. Thank you much for hanging out with us. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace out, guys.
Peace.
Upchurch.